The show was stolen by inflation data last week. The Consumer Price Index showed 1.3% increase in the month of June for a whopping total of 9.1% year over year, which is the largest 12-month increase since November 1981. On the Producer Price Index, so prices on the wholesale level, they increased 1.1% and went up from 10.9 to 11.3%. What's the bottom line? Bottom line is that producers have to make a decision. They either reduce margins or pass along the higher costs to the consumer, which then translates to higher inflation once again. In light of what has been released last week, we are now anticipating, and most economists are talking about a Fed rate hike of 100 basis points, so 1 full percent. Initially, it was talked about 75 basis points. Now we're talking 100 basis points, so 1 full percent to fight head on with these inflationary numbers. The Fed meeting will happen next week, and all eyes will be on that. In other news, jobless claims increased a tiny bit, about 9,000 jobless claims, but what's important to note is a 4-week average of unemployment claims are showing a slight incline every single month since the month of December. Remember what I said? That an uptick in unemployment, in filing claims, is one of those very sure recessionary signs. The other sign? The inverted yield curve. If a yield on a 1-year and a 2-year Treasury bill is higher, so you earn more than on a 10-year long-term bond, that typically is truly a sign of an onset of recession. So we have already 2 recession indicators. Speaking of recession, USB has prepared a report on potential models of how recession will happen. One is consumer-led recession. In this model, the recession will be relatively mild and will last about 8 months. The second one is a Fed-induced downturn. This means that if inflationary pressures continue hitting hard on our U.S. economy, the Fed will have to do nothing less than continue raising the Fed fund rate, and that model actually would be the worst of outcomes for S&P 500 out of all these scenarios. The average 30-year fixed mortgage during such recession may hit a whopping 7%, and the Fed fund rate will hit somewhere around 4.5%. In that scenario, Fed will have to keep rates higher for a longer extended period of time, and corporate earnings will obviously suffer because of it. The last model of recession that was presented is Russia cuts off European gas. If Russia completely shuts off natural gas to Europe, which represents about 6% of their total energy consumption, this would bring on a stagnation across the European continent, but not only, it would have ripple effects throughout the entire world and global economy. In the US, this will be felt more mildly, where GDP would only dip about 0.2%, whereas the European drop could be anywhere around full 4%. That's all I had for you today. Stay tuned for next week's updates.